Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby, and today it is finally time to look at the Goodreads Choice Awards nominations for the year of 2024. I mean, yes, I know technically speaking, these awards are basically like a popularity contest. I mean, I don't know exactly how Goodreads goes about doing these awards or how they select the books for each category, but I know most of the time it's just the most popular books of the year, not necessarily the best books of the year, but me and you are gonna figure that out. We're gonna determine together if these are actually the best books of the year. So I'm basically just gonna be going through each one of these categories. I'm going to be letting you know about how many books I've actually read in each category and what I would be voting for. I think there is about 20 books in each category in this opening round, and I always like to make the bet with myself that I've read at least 50% of the thriller genre, the horror genre, and the romance genre, because those are like my main three genres, and I would be surprised if I hadn't read at least 50% of them. So let's just jump right into it. I'm so excited and so curious. I actually did take some notes on my phone last night for some books that I am expecting to see in these categories, so we'll see if there's any snubs as well. I'm also curious to see if they brought back, because last year they got rid of some categories, like the poetry category got taken out, and then also the graphic novel one got taken out, and there was a few others that I can't remember, but I know that they added in romantasy last year, so I'm guessing that that's probably going to be there again this year, but I'm really hoping that they brought back the poetry and the graphic novels because those are some really great categories where I used to find so many recommendations. Alright, so this is a look at the main page. I'm trying not to like look and glance down, but I am seeing that there's not that many categories there, so I'm gonna guess that they didn't bring back the poetry or the graphic novels, which is very offensive. But anyways, let's just start with fiction first. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see what makes it in here. Okay, I'm already seeing things. So let's go through this. So this one right here, Welcome to the Bookshop, I haven't read this one, but this one has been on my TBR. Like, I've been eyeballing this one, very curious about it. I have actually read Margot's Got Money Troubles. I gave that one 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. Okay, yeah, Sally Rooney, the new Sally Rooney, I definitely expected this one to be on here, even though I haven't read it myself yet. It's still on my TBR. I've also heard of Real Americans. I actually heard of this one because I think it was a book club pick for like Good Morning America this year or something. I'm not familiar with this one. I hope this finds you well. I don't know what this one is, or I don't know what these two are, but Greta and Valden, this is one that I've heard so much about, and I've actually been really wanting to read this one, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. Let's scroll down. Oh my god, yes! Okay, Blue Sisters is on here. I'm currently reading Blue Sisters for another reading vlog. It's gonna be the next one that I post after this, but like, I don't want to spoil that reading vlog or anything, but let's just say I'm very happy to see Blue Sisters on this list. Wandering Stars is one that I've seen the cover, but I have not yet read it. I don't know what these two are. Oh my gosh, okay. Here One Moment by Leanne Moriarty. Okay, that is very interesting that they put this in the general fiction category instead of putting it in, like the mystery thriller category. I don't think I'm mad about it though, because I do think that this book would more so belong here than it would in the mystery thriller category, so I am kind of happy to see it here. And then we have Good Material, which this is one that I have not yet read, but I've actually just had my eye on that one. Like, I've been eyeballing it and maybe thinking about adding it to my TBR, so that's cool. Also, Colored Television, this is another one that I haven't read it yet, but I've heard about it and it sounds interesting. And then The Wedding People! So happy to see The Wedding People here. I was hoping, I like literally wrote in my notes, I was like, if The Wedding People is not on this motherfucking list, I'm gonna be so mad. Like, Wedding People is one of my favorite books that I've read this year, so very happy to see it there. Oh my gosh! Okay, and this is the last line. So we have an Ellen Hilderbrand, which I don't really have any interest in this. I don't know what this one is. I have heard of Tell Me Everything, but I haven't read it. And then we have Same As It Ever Was, which I have not yet read this book, but it is on my TBR. After loving the book The Most Fun We Ever Had by this author, I'm very, very excited to read this one, but also very intimidated by it. So wow, I actually have read a few in this category. So I actually have read 4 of the books in this category, and then I do have 5 books that are on my TBR that I like very urgently want to read. So that's exciting. We're starting off strong. I feel like this is probably the year, or the first year in a while, where I've actually read a number of these fiction category books, because usually in the past couple of years, I've been like so down on my game of like reading general fiction or like literary fiction books. So this feels good. The fact that I've read 4 in this category, I'm happy with that number. Okay, next up is historical fiction. I'm honestly not expecting to know too many of the books in this category or have read because, historical fiction is not really my genre, but let's take a look at it anyways. Ooh, okay, so we have the new Silvia Moreno Garcia in here. I feel like I have heard of this book, but I haven't really heard anybody talking about it yet. None of these are ones that I'm familiar with, except for, of course, Kristen Hanna's The Women, which I actually did read this one, and I only gave it 3 stars, to be honest. I wasn't very impressed by it. So that's interesting, but I knew it was gonna be in here. Oh, okay, so I'm definitely familiar with The Storm We Made. I mean, I don't know much about it, but I've been seeing this book cover like everywhere, and that is one that I could be interested in reading. I also have heard of this one, James. That one I've heard of. Let's see. Okay, Husbands and Lovers is another one that I've definitely heard of this one. The cover looks very familiar to me. Oh my gosh, look at that. Anita DeMonte Laughs Last. This is the only book on this list outside of the women that I have read. I mean, I technically DNF'd this one, Anita DeMonte Laughs Last, but that's very interesting that it's on here. So in this category, I've only read 2 books technically. I've only read The Women by Kristen Hanna and Anita DeMonte Laughs Last, and to be honest, I wasn't a big fan of either of them, so I don't think I would be voting for either of these books. I don't know, I've never been a big fan of historical fiction, so like this category doesn't really do much for me. Also, I forgot to say in the fiction category what I would be voting for. I think my vote right now would either be for The Wedding People or Blue Sisters. I love both of those books very dearly. Okay, time to go to the mystery thriller category. Oh no, what is it gonna be? What is it gonna be? Okay, so first things first, Listen for the Lie. I very much expected this one to be here. This one was actually a BookTube book club pick earlier this year, so I am happy that it's there. I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I gave it 3 stars. And then we have the new Frida McFadden, The Boyfriend. I kind of knew that this book was going to be on here, even though I don't really personally have a lot of interest in reading Frida McFadden, but I kind of knew she was going to be on this list. Okay, we have How to Solve Your Own Murder, which is interesting because I would not call this book a thriller much at all. It is definitely more of like a cozy mystery. I thought it was fine. I gave it 3 stars. And then we have The Mystery Guest. Oh my god, how did I forget about this one? I should have known that the sequel was going to be on this list. I did not anticipate that for some reason. So The Mystery Guest is by Nita Prose. It's actually the sequel for The Maid. I have not yet read it, but I should have realized it would be on here. And then we have The Night We Lost, which I kind of wasn't expecting to be on here, to be honest, just because I know this author is the same author as The Last Thing He Told Me, which was very popular like a few years ago. I think she might have actually won the Goodreads category a few years ago, but this one just hasn't been getting that much hype. Like, I haven't heard anybody talking about this one, so I'm kind of surprised it made the list. And then of course we have Middle of the Night by Riley Sager. I mean, not surprised that Riley Sager made the list, but sadly I was not a fan of this one. It was a 2-star for me. And then same with the new Lucy Folly, The Midnight Feast. I mean, cool to see it here, but I DNF'd this one. Like, I was not a big fan of The Midnight Feast. But then Darling Girls! I am so glad to see this one here. I loved Darling Girls. I gave this one like 4.5 out of 5 stars. Like, I loved it. So very excited it's here. The God of the Woods. I knew it was going to be here. I was actually wondering if they were going to put this book in the literary fiction category or just in the mystery thriller, because this book definitely reads more like literary fiction. Same with All the Colors of the Dark. I was going to say the same thing about this one. Like, I was really curious to see what categories these books ended up falling into. Unfortunately, I wasn't really the biggest fan of The God of the Woods or All the Colors of the Dark. I actually DNF'd both of them. I know, it's like a crime. But I just wasn't the biggest fan of these books, but I am not surprised at all to see them in here. And in fact, I really think one of these books could like take this entire category. Like, I really think The God of the Woods or All the Colors of the Dark could win this category. And then also The Return of Ellie Black is in here. I did read that book. I thought it was okay. I think I gave it like 3 stars. But then what is this? Not What She Seems. I've actually never even heard of this one, so that's exciting. It's always so exciting when they have thrillers in here that I've like never even heard of, because that's like a rare feeling for me, you know? I feel like I'm usually on top of my thriller game, so to have one that I don't even know what it is exciting. Next is The Teacher. So we have another Frida McFadden. That is so interesting. I didn't realize she came out with 2 books this year. We have Home is Where the Bodies Are, which is very cool. I also thought this one though could be in like the horror genre. So very interesting to see this one in the thriller category. And then we have this one by Richard Osman, We Solve Murders. Oh, this is the first book in a new series. I didn't realize that that was a new series from him, so that's cool that it's there. I haven't read it yet. I haven't read any books by this author yet. And then we have The Heiress by Rachel Hawkins, which is another thriller that I have read. I really liked this one, actually. I gave it 4 stars. And then, okay, The Last Line. Wow, okay, we have The Last One at the Wedding. We have Society of Lies. The Last One at the Wedding is one that I just read, by the way, and I ended up giving this one 2 stars. Like, I was really not a fan of it, but Society of Lies is one that I do have on my TBR very soon for the Reese Witherspoon book club video that I'm going to be working on in December. And then we have House of Glass, which I'm kind of surprised, to be honest, that this one made the list. I haven't read it yet, so I don't know much about it. And then First Lie Wins. I knew this was going to be on here. I expected this fully. I ended up giving this one 2 stars. Unfortunately, I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I definitely had a feeling it was going to be on here. Okay, so after taking a second to think about that list and process it, I'm noticing some immediate snubs come to mind, like Kill for Me, Kill for You, hello? One of my favorite thrillers of this year. Like, how did this not make the list? I am shocked. I'm also kind of surprised that Night Watching by Tracy Sierra didn't make the list for thrillers, because even though in my opinion, I do think that this book reads a little bit more like literary fiction as opposed to like a mystery thriller, but I still fully expected to see this book in this category. Also because this book was a Jimmy Fallon book club pick this year, so I thought because there was so much hype surrounding this book, I thought for sure it would have made the list. I also really would have liked to see Look in the Mirror by Catherine Steadman included on this list. This is a mystery thriller that I had a really fun time with and I really enjoyed. And then some other thrillers that did come out this year that I thought for sure would make the list are If Something Happens to Me by Alex Finlay, as well as Daughter of Mine by Megan Miranda. Like, the fact that a Megan Miranda didn't even make the top 20, like, this is shocking information to me. Gosh, I also just realized the new Ruth Ware, One Perfect Couple, also didn't make this list. Wow. All right, so looking through this thriller category, I have read or attempted to read 12 out of the 20 books. So I mean, I am happy that I've at least gotten around to reading 12 out of the 20 books, and then out of the 8 that I have left, I do have one that is on my like very immediate TBR. Society of Lies is definitely the one that I want to get to the most out of these. But then the rest, like, I don't know. I mean, the Frida McFadden, I don't really know if I have any desire to read those books. I mean, you'll have to let me know if they're worth it. I also don't know if I'm interested in The Night We Lost Him. I really don't know what I would vote for in this category. I really think actually I would vote for Darling Girls by Sally Hepworth. Like, I think that actually might be my vote out of these 20 books. Anyways, let's continue on to romance. This is one that I'm so excited and so scared to see these. Oh my god. Okay. Whoa. Okay, I'm overwhelmed. Okay, first thing we have is Wild Love by Elsie Silver, which I have not yet read. I haven't read anything by this author yet. Okay, The Paradise Problem is one that I've read. I really enjoyed it. I gave it 4 stars. This summer will be different. I knew this was going to be on here. I haven't read it yet. I don't really know if I want to read it because I didn't like the first book that I read from this author. Oh my gosh, we have Swift and Saddled, which this is the sequel in a romance series that I have not yet read. I know that this is like a popular cowboy romance series that everybody really seems to love, so maybe I'll have to give it a shot. I don't know. Play Along by Liz Tomford. Isn't this one like a sequel to something? I don't know. I'm not familiar. That cover looks very familiar though. Like, I think it is part of like a book series. Oh my gosh, we have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. Yes, I was hoping that this would be here. This is probably my favorite romance book that I've read this year, so that would obviously be my vote. Lies and Weddings by Kevin Kwan. You know, this is so interesting that this made it into the romance category. I'm actually kind of surprised because I thought that this one was more like literary fiction, if I'm not mistaken, but I haven't read it yet, so I don't know. And then we have Leather and Lark, which this is the sequel to the book The Butcher and the Blackbird, which I gave 1 star. Like, so I have no intention of reading this sequel, but honestly, I should have anticipated that it would be on this list. Okay, scrolling down. Oh, okay, we have This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan, which is exciting. I haven't actually read this one yet, but this one is the sequel for a book that I really enjoyed. What was it called? Before I Let Go, I think is the first book, so that is awesome. So happy to see it here. We have The Rom-Commers, which honestly, I should have anticipated this book being on the list, but I didn't, because I really didn't like this one. I gave it 2 stars. I don't really get the hype, to be honest. Oh my gosh, and then same with The Pairing. So interesting that this book actually made the list because I was not a big fan of it. I ended up DNFing this book, so, but that's, you know, very interesting that it made the list. And also The Love of My Afterlife. I haven't read this one yet, but I've been dying to. Like, I keep getting so close to reading this every single month, and then I just keep pushing it off for some reason. So seeing it here is so exciting. I have a lot of high hopes for that one. Scrolling down, oh my god, okay. Let me process. Okay, Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. That is the sequel for like the Pumpkin Spice Cafe book. I have not yet read it, but very cool that it made it here, I guess. That gives me more reason to want to read it. Daydream. Oh my gosh. For some reason I wasn't thinking Daydream was gonna make this list, but I just read Daydream like in my last reading vlog, and I really enjoyed it. I gave this one 4 stars. It was very surprising. So I am happy to see it on the list. And then we have A Love Song for Ricky Wilde. Oh my gosh, I wasn't sure if this was gonna be put in like the romance genre or if it was gonna be put in like something else. I'm so happy to see it here. This is one that I ended up giving like 4 stars, maybe 3.5 stars, but very exciting stuff. And then Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I gave Bride 3 stars. Like, I thought it was okay, but I wasn't sure if they were gonna put Bride in like the romantasy or like what they were gonna put it in. So that's so interesting that they put it in like the general romance category. Oh my gosh. Okay, and scrolling down. Okay, we have How to End a Love Story, which I kind of expected to be in here, even though I was not the biggest fan of this one personally. I think I gave it like 2 stars. And then we have Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood, which I personally DNF'd this one. Like, it just wasn't my kind of a romance, but I absolutely expected this book to be here. And then Funny Story, of course, by Emily Henry, one of my favorite romance books that I've read this year. I knew it was going to be here. And then King of Sloth. This is a romance series that I am not really familiar with. But like, wow, what a category. Okay, so if we include books that I've DNF'd, I've actually read 10 of the books in this category, which is pretty good. You know, like that's exactly 50%. I've read at least 50% of this category, or I've at least tried to. There are some too that are still on my TBR. I mean, This Could Be Us is definitely one that I want to read soon. Same with The Love of My Afterlife. And then I would also be down to read The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. So like, that's cool that there are some TBR options here as well. One thing that I am noticing though right away is Where the Frick is Slow Dance by Rainbow Rowell. I wasn't really sure if they were gonna put this book in like the general fiction, you know, category, or if they were gonna put this in the romance, because technically this book is a romance, but it does kind of read more like literary fiction at times. So like, I thought maybe they would put it in one or the other, but like, where is this book? Why is it not showing up in these categories? I'm so upset. This is like one of my favorite books that I've read this year, and it's a beautiful romance by Rainbow Rowell. So like, I am shocked actually that it's not on this list. Like, what the heck? How is it not on the list? I'm very offended by this. Also, I have realized that Savor It by Tara DeWitt is not on this list either, and that's another one of my top favorite romance books of this year. I'm also kind of surprised that the book Not Another Love Song isn't on this list, because that's a romance that I haven't read it yet, but I want to read it very soon, and I'm just surprised that it's not on here, because this is the same author as Forget Me Not, and this is like her new romance book. I feel like there's a lot of romance series on here, which is what tends to happen in these categories. So yeah, I think out of this, you know, romance category, the one that would definitely be getting my vote would be Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, is my absolute favorite. I also though wouldn't mind voting for Funny Story by Emily Henry. That's another top contender of the year for me. But for the most part, I am pretty happy with this romance category. I mean, you know, in the past, the romance category has been known to be like very white and very lacking any kind of diversity at all. So like, it does make me a little bit more happy this year to see that there is more diversity throughout these picks. I mean, there's like some queer books, and it is good to see, even though, I mean, it is still mostly like dominated by white people for sure. But I mean, it is nice to see that there is a little bit more, a tiny bit more inclusivity this year. Okay, next up is the romantasy category. Now, this is gonna be where I don't really know a whole lot. I'm not really a fantasy girl, but like, let's just look at it together and see what's going on in the romantasy world. Okay, this book, Feybound, the first one that I'm seeing, I have not actually read this myself, but I keep seeing this book everywhere, and I think the cover is just so freaking beautiful. Like, I love the cover of it. I've heard mostly good things, so I'm actually kind of surprised that it says it has a 3.59 average. Like, what the heck? That is pretty shockingly low, actually. Okay, I have heard of this one, A Dark and Drowning Tide, so that's cool to see that one here. I mean, this is probably the only one that I would maybe have any slight interest in reading if I were to choose any of these. Let's see what else. Oh, okay, we have Apprentice to the Villain. Yeah, that's the sequel for Assistant to the Villain, even though I haven't read that one. I'm not really familiar. Oh, okay, and then we have Honey Witch. I have heard of this one, the Honey Witch. I don't even know if I've heard good or bad things, but I've definitely heard people talking about it. I'm not really a big romantasy reader in general, so I'm sorry, I have no commentary on anything here. So let's go to fantasy next, because this is going to be another one where I'm not really going to have a lot of commentary, to be honest, and I don't anticipate that I've read any of these. Let's see, this one, oh, T. Kingfisher. I didn't even know T. Kingfisher had a new book this year. A Sorceress Comes to Call. Interesting. Okay, TJ Klune also had a new book. This is a sequel for something, Somewhere Beyond the Sea. Oh, wait. It's the sequel to The House in the Cerulean Sea? Okay, I have read The House in the Cerulean Sea. I had no idea that it came out with a sequel this year, so that's actually very interesting. There's so many things here that I don't know. Okay, I am familiar with The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. I haven't read it though. And Academy for Liars. Oh, that's so interesting that this one made the fantasy category. I thought that this one was more of like a horror fantasy. So like, very interesting that it's over here. Oh my gosh, The Book of Doors. I've definitely heard of this one, or like the cover looks very familiar. Oh my gosh, and then we have The Lost Story. Yeah, that is a very interesting fantasy category. I mean, again, this is not my genre. I don't really have much commentary here, and I don't think I've read a single book in this category, so that's wild. Usually there's always like at least one fantasy that I've just somehow managed to read, but not this year, I guess. Okay, science fiction. I'm excited to see the science fiction category because I don't read a lot of science fiction, but I feel like it's something that I always want to try to get more into. Service model. That looks cool. I don't know what that is. Absolution. Oh, this is like the 4th book in the Annihilation series, which is very interesting. I've only read the first book, Annihilation, and I did enjoy it, but I think I gave it like 3 stars. I don't think I was interested in continuing in the series. Oh, but how interesting. Yours for the Taking. This is actually one that I have heard about, and I put the audiobook on hold at my library because it sounds very interesting. I feel like this author is one who writes sci-fi that like maybe I could get into her books if I gave them a chance. So that's cool to see it there. Also, Baby X. This is one that I've definitely heard of. And I'm intrigued by, but I have not read it. Same with, oh my gosh, The Family Experiment by John Mars. This is a new John Mars that I have not yet read. I think it takes place in the same world as some of his other like speculative books. Oh my gosh, The Other Valley. This is one that I have heard of. I remember my friend Casey on Patreon reading this one recently. I can't remember if she said it was any good though, but I have heard of this one. Oh my gosh, Moon of the Turning Leaves. This is the sequel for Moon of the Crusted Snow, which I really did like that book. I haven't gotten around to reading the sequel yet though, so I've definitely heard of Sky Full of Elephants. That one looks familiar. Oh my gosh. Okay, wow, The Ministry of Time. Okay, I should have anticipated that this book would be on this list, and honestly, I haven't read this book yet, but this is one that I am very curious about, and I would add it to my TBR. But look at that Antibot! Oh, Antibot is on the list. I don't know why I didn't think, like, of course Antibot's gonna be on this list. I loved Antibot, so that's exciting. Oh my gosh, okay, I have heard of Beautyland. Beautyland is actually one that I've been so curious about, so I am so excited to see it here on the list. And then these other ones are ones that I am not familiar with, unfortunately. But like, wow, okay, this sci-fi list is very interesting. I'm kind of surprised, to be honest, that Moon of the Turning Leaves got put in the sci-fi category instead of like the horror category. Very interesting, but there are several here that I would be interested in reading. The only one on this whole list that I've read is Antibot, so at this moment in time, my vote would be for Antibot, but you'll have to let me know if you've read more in this sci-fi category. What would you vote for, and what do you think is exciting on this list that you think I should check out? Okay, are we ready? Are we ready for the horror category? I don't think we're ready. Oh my god. So this is like my most anticipated category because I'm just such a horror girl these days. Okay, I'm already seeing things. So let's talk about it. What Feasts at Night? This is a sequel for a series that I haven't read, have no interest in reading really. Indian Burial Ground. Oh my gosh, this is from that author. Actually, I heard about this book a while ago and then I completely forgot about it. I don't know if it just recently published or if I just haven't seen anybody talking about it, but like, interesting that it made the list. Wow, A Sunny Place for Shady People made this list. That is so surprising to me. I only gave this one 3 stars. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. Cool to see it here. Good for Mariana Enriquez. This Cursed House. Oh my gosh, I haven't read this one yet, but this is one that I've been like curious about. Like, I don't know. I'm always so torn on whether I want to read like historical fiction horror because I'm just not the biggest historical fiction fan, but seeing this book here, oh my gosh, it makes me want to read it even more. Then we have I Was a Teenage Slasher, which was a book troop pick for this year, even though I only ended up giving it 2 stars, but I kind of anticipated that it would be here. Oh my gosh, You Like It Darker by Stephen King. This is his new short story collection. I definitely anticipated that this was going to be here, and it just makes me want to read it even more. I haven't read it yet. And then we have Diavola, which was another book troop pick of this year. I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. It's one of my favorite horror books that I've read this year, so very excited that it's here. And then Sleep Tight by J.H. Markert, which is one that I just read, and sadly, I gave that one 2 stars. I was not a big fan of it, and I don't think it's much of a horror book at all. Like, I don't really see it being in the horror category. I think if anything, they could have put this in like the mystery thriller category, maybe, but I wasn't a big fan. So, okay, let's keep scrolling. Oh my god, I'm scared. Oh wow, okay. Oh my gosh, okay, wow, The Book of Witching by C.J. Cook is here. It's in the horror category. Oh my gosh, I don't know why I was expecting maybe this one to be more like in the fantasy category or like somewhere else, but it's in the horror category. Oh my god, I haven't read it yet, but I'm very curious to read it. Same with House of Bone and Rain. Oh my god, I haven't read it yet, but I'm definitely familiar with it, and it's on my TBR. Oh my gosh, then Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. Heck yes, this is one of my favorite horror books that I've read this year. I'm so happy to see it here. And then Blood Like Mine, I have never seen this book in my entire life. So that's interesting. I'll have to look into this. I don't even know what it's about. It looks like it only has 1,000 ratings on Goodreads. So like, it doesn't seem like it's very popular, but that author named Stuart Neville, it sounds so familiar. I feel like I've definitely heard of a book by this author before, but like, what the heck? Okay, let's scroll down a little bit. Oh my gosh. Okay, wow. We do have 3 booktube picks right here. Oh my gosh, this is crazy. Okay, so Murder Road was a booktube pick. We Used to Live Here was a booktube pick, and Incidents Around the House. That's crazy. Murder Road, I personally don't think this is a horror book. This is more of like a mystery thriller. I don't know why this book keeps getting categorized as horror. Like, yes, there's some creepy elements to this book, but it is definitely a mystery thriller. And I also gave Murder Road 2 stars. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I kind of did expect to see it on the Goodreads Choice Awards, but not in the horror category. It's not a horror book. But then We Used to Live Here, let's go! I'm so excited to see We Used to Live Here on here. I gave that book 4.5 stars, really, really loved it. And I'm so glad it's in the horror category. Same with Incidents Around the House. Oh my gosh, that's like one of my favorite horror books that I've read this year. I read it for the book troop. I gave it 5 stars, one of my top favorite books of the year. And then So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. I kind of did anticipate that it would be on this list because Rachel Harrison always makes this list. But this one was a 2-star for me. I was really not a big fan of So Thirsty. And then is the next line, the last line. Oh my god. Okay. I was gonna scream if The Eyes Are the Best Part wasn't on this list. I was literally gonna fight. So I'm very, very happy to see that it is actually on this list. These 3 that I have not yet read. So we have The Angel of Indian Lake, which this is the 3rd book in a series that I have no real interest in reading. My Darling Dreadful Thing is a book that I have not yet read, but I've been hearing so many great things about it, so I'm very excited to see it here. And then The Bog Wife. This is another one that I have not yet read that I've been hearing things about, so like, that's cool. Wow, what a category. Oh my gosh, okay, how many have I actually read? Oh my gosh. Okay, so in this category, I've also read 10 out of the 20. So there are 10 here that I have not yet read. That's wild. Also, out of the 10 that I have read, 5 of them were book troop picks this year. So like, that's crazy. I didn't know for the book troop we read so much horror this year. That is absolutely wild. Oh man, so what would my vote be for? Oh my god, this is a tough category. I mean, as usual, horror has been absolutely killing it in the year of 2024. But I think my vote right now would either be for The Eyes Are the Best Part or Incidents Around the House. I think those would be my votes, but also Bury Your Gaze and also Diavola. Oh my god, like there's so many good ones here. Even We Used to Live Here, I wouldn't be mad if that won. Like, what do I think is actually gonna win this category? I mean, gosh, probably the Stephen King. Like, I could see the Stephen King winning this category, but like, oh my god, there's some really great stuff on here. I mean, I would love to see, you know, Incidents Around the House or We Used to Live Here win this category. I'd be very happy with that. Even The Eyes Are the Best Part, I hope it wins. You know, one book though that I am kind of surprised didn't end up making any of these lists is Someone You Can Build a Nest In, because I thought for sure this was going to be included in maybe either the fantasy category or the horror category, and I'm really surprised that this book didn't get mentioned in either, because I really think this is such a solid book. I mean, I haven't seen the debut novel category yet, and I do think that this one's a debut novel, so like maybe there's a chance we could see Someone You Can Build a Nest In on that category. But like, why is this book not getting the recognition it deserves? Like, this book is absolutely incredible. It made me, somebody who like doesn't really read fantasy at all, give so many fucks, and I feel like that takes a lot to do, and I just really had a good time with this year, so I'm kind of shocked that this one isn't making any of these lists. And then I didn't expect to see The Haunting of Velkwood on this horror category, but I also think this book should have been added to the horror category. I do think this is one of like the most interesting horror books that I've read this year. But overall, like, I don't know, I can't be mad at that horror category. Like, there are so many books that I was hoping would be on there that were on there, and I also really do appreciate the fact that it does seem like the horror genre is one of the most diverse categories that I've seen out of all of these. All right, so moving on to the debut novel category, that is the next thing. Oh my gosh, okay, I have a feeling most of these books that we're gonna see here are going to be books that we have seen in other categories. Like, that's usually just the way that it works. But just looking at the top of this list, oh my gosh, The Ministry of Time. For some reason, I did not realize that this one is a debut novel, so like, very cool to see it here. I am really excited to read that one. I kind of hope that it like wins in one of these categories so that I have even more of an excuse to read it soon. The Book of Doors, that was another one that I'm familiar with. I didn't realize that that one is a debut though, so that's cool. Same with Sky Full of Elephants, that's cool. I had no idea that it was a debut. And then Let's Go, We Used to Live Here, yes! I feel like so far this would definitely be my vote for this category. How to End a Love Story is one that I kind of figured would be here. Oh my god, Greta and Valden, I didn't know that that was a debut either, but that's another one that I'm interested in reading, very cool. I'm not really familiar with some of these other ones here. What is this? The Truth According to Ember. Is this a romance? I have no idea. Like, there's so many here that I'm not familiar with. Oh my god, the eyes are the best part! Yes! Oh my gosh, this one is another one that I'm so interested in reading. Wow, okay. That's a pretty cool debut category. I don't know, I am a little bit bummed that Someone You Can Build a Nest In isn't included in any of this, but I don't know, I can't be that mad at this category. I mean, this is a pretty solid group of books here. I've only read 3 books on this list. I've only read The Eyes Are the Best Part, How to End a Love Story, and We Used to Live Here. And gosh, it's tough just between those 2 books because I don't know if I'd rather vote for We Used to Live Here or The Eyes Are the Best Part. Like, I think they are both such solid debuts, and both of those authors have like already solidified themselves as like an author that I'm gonna read everything they ever come out with. Oh my god, wait, what? I just realized there's an audiobook category? That's new, right? Oh my god, what? Hold up. Reader's favorite audiobook? What? So they added a new category this year. It's an audiobook category. Very interesting. I mean, this makes me very happy because I'm a huge audiobook reader and a huge audiobook advocate. I absolutely recommend listening to audiobooks. It adds so much to your life, and I feel like it's one of the things that helps you read even more than you thought you could because audiobooks are amazing. I'm in full support of this. I also think, I don't know, as far as these audiobooks go, like, I don't know if there's anything in here that's like super special and super unique. I mean, kind of weird that there are some Audible originals. I mean, which makes sense, right? Because Goodreads is like owned by Amazon, so of course they're going to try to push the audiobooks that are owned only by Audible. Sorry, that's like one of my biggest pet peeves. I can't stand when Audible does like Audible exclusives or like you can only get the audiobook from Audible. I hate that so much. But wow, there are definitely some books in here that I am interested in reading and some audiobooks that I have listened to. Like, I can definitely agree that Just for the Summer and Funny Story have really great audiobooks. This one, 1984, I've read this book, but I think it's so cool that they got Andrew Garfield to narrate the audiobook. Like, I love him. But very cool. Okay, young adult fantasy is next. This is one that I don't anticipate having a lot of feelings about. Let's just scroll through to see all what's in here. Yeah, so as expected, I haven't read anything in this category. I mean, gosh, I'm barely reading any young adult these days as it is, but you know, young adult fantasy is definitely not my genre. But I have heard of this one, Don't Let the Forest In. My friend Lexi actually recently just read this book and she's been like raving about it. So I'm very curious and interested in reading this one maybe. I think this one also has more of like a fantasy horror element to it. I don't know anything, so sorry about that. Young adult fiction is next. This is another one that I don't think I would have read anything on this list. I mean, I'm not totally sure. Oh, okay, I am familiar with Icarus, even though I haven't read it yet. But I am familiar with that one. Oh, Nothing Like the Movies. That's a sequel. Interesting. Very interesting. Oh my gosh, duh, Heartstopper. Okay, Heartstopper Volume 5. I wasn't expecting them to put it on here, to be honest, because, you know, but I guess they gotta put it somewhere, right, since they completely scrapped the graphic novel category, which is just rude, but I'm glad at least Heartstopper is still getting the recognition that it very much deserves. I am familiar with The Reappearance of Rachel Price, but I have not yet read it. Oh, look at that! I have read one on this list, Where Sleeping Girls Lie. I don't know why I totally spaced on the fact that I read this year. I think I ended up giving this one like 3 or 3.5 stars. I thought it was fine. And then I do have When the World Tips Over. I do have that one on my TBR, so there is a book on here that I am interested in reading soon. It's gonna be nonfiction. So this is another one that I don't anticipate that I've read many. You know, I keep telling myself, like, I'm gonna read more nonfiction books this year. I've literally said it all year long, and has it happened? No. But let's see, oh, The Message. You know, I have read a book from this author before, and I didn't know that they came out with a new memoir, or like a new nonfiction book this year. So that's interesting. Maybe I'll have to check that out. I've also heard of this one, The Devil at His Elbow. Let's see, what else? What is this? Blood? The Science, Medicine, and Mythology of Menstruation. What? Very interesting. Yeah, as expected, no, I haven't read any of these books, and I'm not really that familiar with any of them either. Same with memoirs. Sometimes I am better at like staying on top of memoirs that I'm interested in, but I can't think of any memoirs that I've read this year. So we'll have to see. I didn't know RuPaul had a memoir that came out this year. That is interesting. I've been seeing this one around. I don't know, I've never seen the Gilmore Girls, so like it's not really my thing, but I've seen a lot of people enjoying this one. A lot of these look very familiar. Like I think I've seen the covers everywhere, but I have not read anything this year. I am really slacking on my nonfiction game this year. I apologize. The last category is history and biography, and again, this is going to be one that I have no commentary on. So that is a wrap on the Goodreads Choice Awards for 2024. You know, I am pretty happy with the categories this year and like with everything that got nominated. I think for me, the biggest snubs of this entire thing have got to be Slow Dance by Rainbow Rowell. Like I will fight them because what the heck, why is this book not included? Like that is just truly devastating. I also think Kill for Me, Kill for You absolutely should have been in the thriller category. Like it's just really shocking to me that both of these books didn't make the list. But other than that, I don't think I have too much anger over any snubs. I mean, maybe I'm just like spacing on things, but like you'll have to let me know if there's any like major snubs that you noticed in any of these categories. I also love the fact that they added an audiobook category. I think that's so freaking cool, and I hope they continue to do that in the future. But I am still salty over the fact that there's no poetry category and no graphic novels category. Like, why not? I just don't understand, and I'm really frustrated about it because I am the type of reader that I get a lot of recommendations from these lists, and I do love to read poetry and graphic novels, but that's something that like I'm not really involved in those communities, so like I don't know what the new poetry releases are. So like I really relied on these lists to get recommendations from so that I could read them at this time of year. So it is a bit of a bummer, but I think overall, like, I don't know, I am very happy with these nominations this year. And you know what's so cool is that almost every single BookTube book club pick that we've had this year has been nominated at the Goodreads Choice Awards. I mean, our first two picks of the year were actually nominated at last year's Goodreads Choice Awards, and that's actually how I like discovered them and wanted to make them BookTube picks in the first place. So like maybe there's a chance that there could be some upcoming BookTube picks within this year's categories. Very cool. I ended up loving both of these so much, and I'm so happy that they ended up being BookTube book club picks. And the only two books that were not represented that are going to be BookTube picks this year, The Fury by Alex Michaelides was not included, but this one was our March BookTube pick, and then this one, Someone in the Attic, is our November book club pick, and this one was not represented on any of these lists. All of these other picks that we've had for the BookTube this year, every single one of these was mentioned in the Goodreads Choice Awards, so like that is so cool. So 7 books from the BookTube were mentioned as Goodreads Choice Awards nominations this year. How exciting is that? I didn't really realize how many of these were going to be horror as well. Like, we have read a lot of horror for the BookTube this year, and I'm only now just realizing that. Like, that's crazy. That is going to be a wrap on this video. Definitely let me know, what do you think of the nominations this year? What are you going to be voting for? What do you think is going to win each category? And are there any, like, very obvious snubs that I missed that you're, like, absolutely pissed about that got snubbed? Like, let me know, because I'm sure there are some that I've missed. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye!